Hey guys, this is Ms. Harrington again, and we're going to continue to talk about using cause and effect and compare and contrast text structures. So let's just look back at the lesson that we did earlier in the week or earlier in the day, maybe for you at home. So we talked about what it means for an author to use text structures that are cause and effect and compare and contrast. So we know with cause and effect text structures, we know cause is why something happens, effect is what happens, and we know that there are certain keywords that we might see in a text if the text structure is cause and effect. So those would be words like cause, effect, because, as a result. We also talked about compare and contrast text structure. Now we know from lessons that we've had previously this year, compare and contrast, how things are alike and how they're different. If the author used compare and contrast for their writing, we might see words like both, unlike, similarly, and in contrast. Now, earlier when we looked at this lesson, we did a short little activity where we had to read two different passages. We looked for those key words from above, and then we decided a couple of things about these passages. We decided what was the author's purpose, so why were they written? We decided what type of text structure was used, cause and effect or compare and contrast, and then we provided evidence for the structure by pointing out those clue words that we found in each passage. So we're going to do that again today. So what you're looking at today, you should have two passages. One is titled, Why Are the Oceans Salty? And the second passage is titled, Oceans and Seas. So just like what we did previously, after you read the passages, the very first thing you want to do is go back and look for those clue words. So a few things that I noticed as I went through in this first passage, Why Are Oceans Salty? I see words like explanations. I see the phrase, explain the cause. I also see that phrase, as a result. So these words that I see make me automatically think that this passage is written using cause and effect, especially because I see cause and I see that phrase, as a result. So then you want to do the same thing for oceans and seas. After reading, you want to go back through and you want to look for any clue words that might tell us, okay, is this written using cause and effect, or is it written using compare and contrast? So a couple of things that I saw as I went through and reread. I see the word different. I see the phrase in contrast. I also see the phrase two things in common. So these words and phrases make me believe that this text structure is compare and contrast, because we're talking probably about oceans and seas, how they're alike and how they're different. So we're going to take these clue words that we identified from both passages, and we're going to fill out the same chart that we did previously, just with these two new passages. So we're starting with that first passages, why are oceans salty? So the first thing we want to do is give the author's purpose. Well, the purpose is kind of right there in the title, right? The author wants to explain why oceans are salty. Then we're going to move to text structure. So looking back at those words in Why Are the Oceans Salty, we identified words and phrases like explanations, explain the cause, as a result. So we know from the previous lesson that these are words and phrases we would see in cause and effect text structure. So for text structure, we're going to put cause and effect. And then the last part of our chart, we want to provide evidence of the structure. So again, we want to look back at those keywords or clue words that we found in the text. So we're going to write words like explanations. Explain the cause. And as a result. So now we're going to do the exact same thing for the second passage, oceans and seas. So we want to start with the purpose. So why was the passage written? And it was written to show how oceans and seas are alike and different. And again, we can pick up on that based on those clue words and clue phrases that we found in the text. right, so coming over to text structure, again, when we look at those keywords, we see things like different, in contrast, two things in common. So we know based on those clue words that this author used compare and contrast text structure. And then the last thing we're going to do, we're going to provide that evidence for the structure. So we're going to go back to those clue words that we found in the passage, and we're going to add them to this part of our chart. So words like different, in contrast, and two things in common.